おはようございます。今日も朝のフーディニ作業配信を始めていきたいと思います。昨日は、ベラムの動画シリーズみたいなものを見て、ベラムの機能を一通り見ようかなと思ったんですが、画面切り替えとかがなかなかスムーズにできず、ちょっとぐだってしまったなっていうのがあったので、今日はいつも通り動画を見ながら作っていこうかなと思います。はい。では、動画流します。
Hi everyone, in this Vellum Cloth tutorial we are going to explore how to add movement to our cloth, make them fly, and add different colors to each one. This is a quick one, hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's start with our friend geometry.
じゃあ、フーディに切り替えます。
Node, and let's call it cloth. Cloth. Let's dive in and place a planar patch. I like to start with a planar patch to cloth simulation instead of using a grid, because the topology on the planar. Well, let's dive in and place a
プランナーパッチ。プランナーパッチって初めて使う。
planar patch. I like to start with a planar patch to cloth simulation instead of using a grid, because the topology
何これプレイみたいなもんなのか。トポロジーがもうすでに。こんなノードあったんだ。
on the planar patch is already prepared for cloth simulation. It is better to work with triangles instead of rectangles. Okay, let's increase the size 1 by 2. Have bigger cloth, and let's place a null, and let's call it base geo. You know that I like to have a null before the nodes for simulations, because we can change initial geometry. Okay, but let's start with this, and let's put a Vellum cloth. A Vellum configure cloth will work everything for us, and let's place a solver, Vellum solver. If you have seen my previous tutorials on Vellum airs, I explained that you can use the knowledge that you already have on PopNet, right, working with particles inside of Vellum. Even if you double click, you can see here that you can wire pop forces into this output. Okay, so it already says to you that you can use pop force. And if you think about it, all the geometry that you have in 3D, right, it's made of polygons. Those polygons are a group of edges, right? And those edges are, one edge is a link between 2 points. So if you think about it, every geometry has points. Points and particles are the same. So even if you put here a popnet, you could work with these points. Okay, so that makes sense that you, inside of Vellum cloth or Vellum solver, you can play with pop forces, particle forces, point forces. Okay, so let's dive into Vellum solver and start with the simple stuff. Let's put a pop force, okay, and wire this in like they say here. Okay, on the pop force, let's do something really quickly. To 5, okay, on scroll size 5, amplitude 2. And if I press play, you will see that our first our cloth will fall. So this is one abstract simulation. So let's go to Vellum Solver, okay, forces, and let's turn off the gravity. Okay, let's press play. I forgot to put the blue tag, the visible tag, on the Vellum Solver. It is cooking until 180, and you can see that our cloth is being animated with our pop force, right? Pretty cool. Let me change the frame range, 50. Okay, cool. So let's go and explore this a little bit. I don't really enjoy working with pop force. You know that I like using VOPs. Okay, and we will do a simple setup with turbulence noises, with noises to displace and play with our cloth. So first let's put a curl. I love the curl noise with those swirls. 3D noise, okay, and let's wire these to the velocity, because we want to affect the velocity of those points, not the position, the velocity. We want to add velocity into the points. If you add to the position, okay, like we do a lot of these in particles, this is not really that good. If you link like this, in other words, displacing the position, the particles, we can go and have a lot of errors inside the cloth, because we are animating cloth and not particles. It is important that we add velocity to those points, so Vellum Solver can like change a little bit of that velocity to avoid intersection between cloth. Okay, so this is not really that good. It might work with a simple cloth, but if we add like 1,000 cloths, 1,000 planar patch and simulate everything, you can we can start having a lot of errors, because we are displacing the position, and Vellum Solver can't really displace the position and work better with velocities. So instead of doing this, okay, let's cut this. Let's wire the curl noise into the velocity, and we will play with velocity. Let's promote this so we can work. I think maybe we can work here. We can work here. Sometimes the simulation doesn't display here. Okay, as you can see, we are adding our cool curl force into our cloth. And because Vellum Solver is a cloth simulator, right? We are working with cloth, we will maintain the base shape of our cloth. This is going faster, so let's increase this a little bit and go 0.05, so we have more resolution. So it may take a little bit more time, but we have more definition in our cloth. Okay, pretty cool. Now, as usual, you can come here, and I'm going to link this to number 2 on the keyboard, so you can control 2. So you have a quick mark, and I'm going up and control 1. So if I press 1, I'll stay here. If I press 2, I'll jump into Vellum Solver, into the pop-up, and I'm already here. So it is faster to jump between those nodes, okay? Instead of double click, and double click. Okay, so we have our curl noise. We can come here and play a little bit. Let's like decrease this, add more amplitude, so the curl noise will be stronger. Maybe down a little bit the roughness, and let's see how it looks. Okay, pretty simple. And if you want the opposite, let's increase this, and you will see that we will get more wrinkles, more abstract and aggressive movement. Okay, now it is pretty boring, right? So let's multiply and have a few. The opposite, let's increase this, and you will see that we will get more wrinkles. more abstract. And aggressive movement. Okay. Now it is pretty boring, right? So let's multiply and have a few planar patches. Okay. So one way to do that really fast, let's place a box. Okay, let's go with 2 by 2 by 2. Let's wire. Okay, so we can see the box. Let's turn into volume is offset or VDB from polygons. It's a box patches. Okay, so one way to do that really fast, let's place a box. Okay, let's go with 2 by 2 by 2. Let's wire. Okay, so we can see the box. Let's turn into volume is offset or VDB from polygons. Okay, let's increase the wire. Okay, let's go with 2 by 2 by 2. Let's wire. Okay, so we can see the box. Let's turn into volume is offset or VDB from polygons. Okay, let's increase these a bit, just in case. Let's scatter some points. So if you convert it to a volume, now you can scatter points inside that volume, right? If you don't do this, you will scatter only on the surface. Okay. Let's transform into volume, so we have data inside the volume, so we can scatter points. Let's turn off max points, and we will just want 20 cloth. And then we want copy to points. Copy to points. Let's hide this here, and now we have a bunch of cloth. Okay. Let's wire that to. Let's organize. Organize this a little bit better. Let's turn off the wireframe. So now we have 20 planar patch, okay, and everything will work. And now we will add and convert this everything into cloth. So as you can see, it is taking more time, but that is normal, right? Because we are now playing with 20 planar patch, so we have more geometry, more collisions to the Vellum solver to process. Okay, and you can still have a few intersections. Okay, if you have, you can come here to the solver and increase the substeps. Okay, I like to increase 2 by 2. So now I go to 2. If it doesn't work, I go to 4, then 6, 8, and so on. Okay. And let me think one more thing. Let's work a little bit better on our pop-up. Okay, press 2 and I'll jump inside. And imagine that we want the curl noise to affect the basic or the overall shape of our cloth or animation, but we want really tiny wrinkles inside. So let's place a turbulence. Okay, so this one will be with a less frequency, so 0.5, and let's go with amplitude 2. So we will have This one will be with less frequency, so 0.5. And let's go with amplitude 2. So we will have a bigger noise. Okay, we go here. We can see we have the overall waves of curl noise. And then we will add a second noise to have tiny wrinkles inside each cloth. So let's go here and link this turbulence noise. On the frequency, on this case, I want this to be, let's go, I like round numbers, so 5.5. I want this to be stronger than the curl force, okay? And roughness, let's add a little bit of roughness. And signature must be a 3D noise, and let's change this to sparse convolution. Let's check first, before we merge them, let's check the turbulence noise. So we will have really tiny wrinkles. Even this frequency, I can see frequency is too big. So let's copy parameter, paste relative, and paste relative. So I can just change this here, and let's see what it is. I can just change this here, and let's see what is going to work. Okay, so now we have tiny wrinkles. And now let's merge them. So let's add. So we will have, let me go back. So the turbulence, we are adding these small tiny wrinkles, and with our curl noise we will have that big wave movement, okay, with rolls and curls. Okay, so let's combine them together with the add node. So we have the main one and then adding the turbulence, and we will have a mix of both. Okay, you can see that we have that big curl and then those wrinkles. Now you can play with the strength of each. So let's place, maybe this is too strong. Let's put, so let's those wrinkles. Now you can play with the strength of each. So let's place, maybe this is strong. Let's put lower than the curl. Let's see how it looks. So now it's just a matter of art direct your animation. We have a few wrinkles, but not as much as I want. Let's go with 3. We have that big shape, and then our wrinkles. Pretty cool. One thing that if you want more wrinkles or more definition, you can always come here and decrease a little bit the edge length, so you will increase the resolution. And then after this, even okay, you don't have a powerful computer and you need to do this quicker, you can have this edge length, okay, and then let's put a post process. And you can smooth everything out. Let me cache until frame 45. And then let's do this quicker. You can, okay, you don't have a, and then after this, even, okay, you don't have a powerful computer and you need to do this quicker, you can have this edge length, okay, and then let's put, put a post process. You can smooth everything out. Let me cache until frame 45. It is going to take a little bit. Okay, so you can see that we have some hard edges because we don't have enough resolution or geometry to do this smoothly. So with the Vellum process, you can come here and use one of the subdivisions. I like to use the loop. Okay. And we have a better resolution.
そっか、確かに。シミュレーションの後にやった方が、キャッシュしたやつで作業できるから。確かにこっちの方が作業効率いいな。
You can even increase these, but be careful increasing these because it can take a little bit of more time. Now we have smoother curves on our cloth. You can even come here, and if you have a lot of intersections, you can detangle, and it will change your simulation to detangle the geometry, but I prefer doing that with the Vellum solver and increasing the substeps because it can change your simulation and it can ruin your animation. Okay, and extrude thickness, you can add thickness to your cloth. As you can see, it takes a little bit of more time. So now we have our thickness. Okay, cool. Normally you can change the thickness here, but I prefer to leave it at 1 because by using thickness scale at 1, it is using the original thickness of our cloth. Okay, you can see here it is calculating uniform, so the Vellum cloth is using a thickness depending on your And why I don't like to change here, because imagine you have a stack of cloth, or even here that our cloth is really close together, and if we change the thickness here, you will see that they no longer touch each other. So it's not that good to change the thickness scale here. As you can see, they were touching each other and they were not intersecting because, and this cloth is not going more to the left because there is another one. But if you change the thickness, you will have space. And go beyond 1. I don't know if you can even go beyond 1, but please don't go because it will ruin your animation the other way. If you increase the thickness, these two cloths that are intersection, they are touching each other, they will start going and the geometry will intersect and go inside the other one. So it's really important to leave this thickness at scale 1, and if you want more thin or more with more extrusion or more thickness, go here to the Vellum cloth. You can always come here, change, set uniform, and do it by yourself. Okay. Let me go back, calculate, and use it like it was. Okay, one other thing that you might need is to color, give different colors to your cloth, right? Right now everything is white and that is not really beautiful, right? They all look the same. One thing that you can do is when you color 2 points, okay, you can add attribute randomize. Here and so you are giving random colors to your points, and because you are using copy to points and copy to points are adding the color to you can add attribute randomize here and so you are giving random colors to your points, and because you are using copy to points and copy to points are adding the color to your copied geometry. Okay, so now if I run the simulation, the cloth will have this color. But I don't really like this method because imagine now you have this, or you can even put a ramp and color them with your taste. Imagine you are working with blues, and then along the process you have to change from blues to reds, and you have to do the simulation all over again because we are giving colors to the geometry before the simulation. So if you need to change anything, you have to do it all over again. And imagine that you have thousands of cloth. The cache takes 1 day to process, and you have to recache everything because you need to change the color. That is not good. That is not good workflow or pipeline. So what I like to do is put a simple wrangle, okay? And don't be afraid, Vex will be super easy. And I'm going to write, create a new point attribute. Let's call it cloth ID. And the ID will be the same as the point number. So now let me go here. Each point, I know you can't really see them, but each point, if I go to geometry spreadsheet, now each point has an attribute of cloth ID. Now on the copy to points, okay.
あ、そっか。ポイントで設定しないと消えるのか。いるな。あ、ワイルドカード入ってんのか。
On copy to points, let's add another attribute and be sure that we are passing the cloth ID. So now, if I check my geometry spreadsheet, now every single cloth, every single point on that cloth has a cloth ID attribute. So
これ設定する必要あるのかな。明らかにワイルドカードでコピーしてる気がするんだ。
sure that we are passing the cloth ID. So now, if I check my geometry spreadsheet, now every single cloth, every single point on that cloth has a cloth ID attribute. So we know that the points with cloth ID 0 are from the planner patch with ID 0. Okay, this way you can simulate everything, and after the simulation you have that point attribute and you can give colors depending on that attribute. So let me cache this a little bit and I'll be right back with the final cache. So let's put, oops, not file merge, cache, and I have the Vellum. Let me turn this down a little bit to be faster. And let's go with cloth cache. As you may know, I don't like to use the hit name because I keep saving different versions. And save the project and save to disk. Be right back. Okay, so we have our file cache. Let's check how it looks. And we have some flying cloth. That is cool. Let me turn off that grid.
キャッシュするか。 べえな、時間かかるな。ちょっと待って。クロスシミュレーション重いな。
Let me turn this down a little bit to be faster. And let's go with class cache. As you may know, I don't like to use the hit name because I keep saving different versions. And save the project and save to disk. Be right back. Okay, so we have our file cache. Let's check how it looks. And we have some flying cloth that it looks. Okay, so and save to disk. Be right back.
してるよね。早すぎるよね。キャッシュが長いな。キャッシュ長え。ちょっと続き見るか、さっき。
Okay, so we have our file cache. Let's check how it looks. And we have some flying cloth. That is cool. Let me turn off that grid. And let's change the background. Dark. Okay. Let's go with a more cool shot. Okay, now let's have colors. Remember, we add that cloth ID to our cloth. So now we can just, let's go with a simple one. Let's go with the color. And change the color type to ramp from attribute. And let's go to the cloth ID. And let's change this to infrared. So now it is asking what is the range from our cloth ID. So we know that our points, we have 20 points. So let's copy that in case that we change. And so our cloth ID will go from range 0 to 20, right? But instead of writing 20, let's make it procedural and place relative reference. Okay, so if we change that point number, the scatter points, it will change here. So now, as you can see, we have colors on our cloth depending on the cloth ID. So imagine that you have a rainbow cloth. Now you are using only blue and red. So let's go with two-tone. So now we have blue and reddish. Okay, so I think this is a better workflow to color your cloth instead of doing that before the simulation. Okay, to explain this a little bit better, what we are doing with the cloth ID, it's the same that we are using with the point fop. Okay, you could place a point fop, go here, put a bind. Okay, bind node allows us to get other point attributes that they are not here on this list. Okay, so now we are going to get to cloth ID. We need to put a fit to tell look, this
ランプに突っ込んで、
cloth ID, this attribute go from 0 to 20, right? Or base relative. So 0 to 20. Convert this to 0 to 1. So we can use a ramp. Okay, and then link this ramp to our color. So that color node with the ramp attribute is doing the same as this. So now we can come here and go with infrared. Now we have our rainbows. So I'm just explaining what we were doing with this color. Okay, so now
圧倒的に楽だな。なるほどね、こんなやり方あったんだ。よし、キャッシュ終わった。カラーノート作って。いや、いつもボップでやってたな。クロス ID にして、ランダムフロマテリとか、あ、違うな、ランプフロマテリフロで、テストして、こっちはポイントボードか。こっちか。なるほど。待て。キャッシュ読み込んでないな。快適。
before the simulation. Okay, to explain this a little bit better, what we are doing with the cloth ID, it's the same that we are using with the point fob. Okay, you could place a point fob, go here, put a bind. Okay, bind node allows us to get other point attributes that they are not here on this list. Okay, so now we are going to get the cloth ID. We need to put a fit to tell, look, this cloth ID, this attribute go from 0 to 20, right? Or base relative, so 0 to 20. Convert this to 0 to 1, so we can use a ramp. Okay, and then link this ramp to our color. So that color node with the ramp attribute is doing the same as this. So now we can come here and go with infrared. Now we have our rainbows. So I'm just explaining what we were doing with this color. Okay, so now let's place a null and let's go with out cloth. Very simple. So some of you have been sending
ちょっとコメントが来て全然見てなかったな。コメントってこれ時間出ないのか。いつだった、いつ来てたんだ。しまった。
with infrared. Now we have our rainbows. So I'm just explaining what we were doing with this color. Okay, so now let's place a null and let's go with out cloth. Very simple. So some of you have been sending me messages asking how to render this with Mantra. As I told you, I'm not really into Mantra, but I've been taking a few lessons online, trying to and exploring here on the tutorials and some of the projects how to do this in Mantra. So let's try and do that. I will try. I'm not really expert, but let's see.
独自デスクトップ出してきやがった。なんだこれ。どういうレイアウトこれ。
Taking a few lessons online.
切り替えよう。
Trying to and exploring here on the tutorials and some of the projects how to do this in Mantra. So let's try and do that. I will try. I'm not really expert, but let's see. So we can put a principal shader. Where is it? Where is it? Principal shader on our materials. Okay. Let's change.
パラメータ出てねえんだ。死ぬほど見づれえ。こっち固定になってんのか。そっか。こっちにしなきゃ来ないのか。ダメか。
Shader on our materials. Okay. Let's change this to white. So we will use the full color. Use point colors. Remember, our color attribute is on points. Okay, we have here the color on points attributes. And specular is the reflection, right? So let's change this to 0.4. Okay, and on our outputs, let's put a mantra node. Here on pixel filter, I like to keep things softer. Okay. On rendering, I like to increase these things soft.
このプリセット。
Here on pixel filter. Filter, I like to keep things softer. Okay. On rendering, I like to increase these step by step. So let's go now for 4x4. Global quality, let's crank this up a little bit and leave it ray trace by now.
Okay. このパラメータほとんどいじったことねえな。レントレネ。
Let's put a null. Okay, null is on there. Let's put a camera. Our camera, let's give 7. Let's change this here to camera view. I like to place a null because now I can rotate the null. Okay, and our camera will spin looking at that null. Okay, very simple. Let's even go a little bit closer. Very cool. And now let's put environment light. Let's pick HDRI. So I like to use the HDRI Haven. They are free. So let's go with the Paul Loeb House. 8K resolution.
めちゃめちゃ使いづれ。なんでここんな広いの？
Okay, let's disable the light and view part. Let's place a simple area light. Okay, let's look through our area light. Let's lock it, and let's go with the top. Maybe like. top light. Simple. Just to have a few reflections. Let's go outside our light. And let's go to our render view and press render, and let's see how it looks. So as you can see, we are using super simple mantra nodes. So my license is expiring in 4 days. So let's see how it looks. And because we are using point colors, and on our principal shader we are telling use the point colors, so our cloth have the colors that we want. If you want, we can come here and increase a little bit the light. Let's go with a different one. Cool. Rotate this a little bit. Let's go with this one. It's cool. We have a few reflections here. We try increase the size of Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a really quick one. So now you know how to make a flying cloth. Again, this is using knowledge from PopNet. Okay, so like we explored in previous tutorials about particles, you can add a custom volume and link and do a pop advect by volumes animation. You can add your custom, you can add a pyro simulation, and then move your cloth. So it is pretty simple, and I hope you understand this workflow with the scatters and the cloth, the point triangle with cloth ID, so you can color them after the simulation. And if you like to render this on Cinema 4D, I'm going to do a quick tutorial how to export with Alembics with a few point attributes, like in our case the color ID, so you can add these colors into your Alembic and give different colors to each cloth inside Cinema 4D. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you saw
キャッシュしちゃってるからキャッシュし直すのめんどくさいな。よし、こんなところかな。はい。一旦こんな感じになりました。今日はクロスシミュレーションの作例をやってみたんですが、このカラーの使い方とかはすごい勉強になったなって感じですね。はい、こっちのポイントポップの方でフィットしてランプしてみたいのが結構こういうもんだと思ってやることが多かったので、意外とランダムにカラーを与えるのって風には簡単なんですけど、ちょっと何色か使いたいとかっていう時にちょっと工夫しなきゃいけないので、それをインスタンシングする前に、ID 与えて、その ID に基づいてカラーに振り分けてあげるっていうやり方はよくやるかなって感じはするんですが、このカラーノードを使ったやり方は一番シンプルにできるので、いい発見だったなと思います。あとはこのベラムポストプロセスを使った、シミュレーション後のサブディビジョンとかは、確かにこっちのメッシュの方で結構やっちゃいがちなので、ポストプロセスで同じことできるんだったらこっち側でやった方が再度シミュレーションしなくていいので便利だなと思いました。はい。 では、今日はこんなところで配信を終わります。ご視聴ありがとうございました。